And we are going to be filling out the author study trading cards. So if you do not already have those downloaded, I highly recommend going ahead and doing that. You can do that after the class. There is going to be a replay available. So if you want to go ahead and grab those and then fill them out after the class, that would work too. So here's what you're getting with the author study, the free sample that I'm giving away. We have the author study worksheets. This helps you to be able to really dive into these different famous authors, dive into their life story, and really do more research. If you have an author that you really love, being able to learn more about the time period that they were in and the different stuff that happened in their life that led to them writing their great novels is going to help you to be able to write amazing novels as well. Because there's a lot to learn about the different writing routines and writing spaces that these authors had. So these are the author trading cards, and these are the ones we're going to be filling out here. There's 4. We're going to be going over 4 different authors: Mark Twain, Jane Austen, C.S. Lewis, and E.B. White. We're going to be going into a lot more details on that. So we also have an author bingo in the free worksheet that goes over a bunch of different famous authors. If you haven't read books by all of these different authors, I highly recommend that you do so, because these are some authors that are going to help inspire your great novels. So this is a great class for ages, I would say 8 to 14, to help you to be able to build your fun writing routine. This worksheet honestly is a lot of fun. It's an author tournament. Again, all of these are available for free over on the link over there, storyquestacademy.com/free download author trading cards. Go ahead and take a look at that. I just want to make sure everyone had a chance to grab those before we get started. Okay, I think everyone is here. Let's go ahead and talk about the untold secrets of legendary authors' writing routines. So what is a writing routine? That's a question I get asked a lot. Writing routine is a plan that you make so that you can be able to write on a regular basis, consistently. And it's a way of organizing your time so that you can be able to write more efficiently. So we're going to be diving into each one of the authors that I talked about earlier, learning what we can from their writing routine and their writing space. So Mark Twain is most famously the author of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. So his writing routine was fairly simple. He would eat a giant breakfast, and he emphasized that food was very important to fuel your brain. He would lock himself in his study, which is like an office, kind of a modern day office. And then he would not come out until it was time for dinner. So he was very focused on making sure that he had really good food to fuel his creative process. And he valued being able to lock himself away from all distractions. So if you sit down and you're writing and you're having a hard time focusing because you've got your phone buzzing and all this stuff, consider taking a step back, going somewhere where there's less noise and distraction so that you can focus during your writing time every day. So this was Mark Twain's actual desk. He actually had it very simple, and he had his little reference books available, but it was super simple, super clean, less distractions. So for this author trading card, download the author trading cards, print out that page, both the front and back side, and draw a portrait of the author. I would highly recommend that you use pencils so that you can be able to sketch it out. Go ahead and search up on Google for a picture of Mark Twain. This will make it a lot easier for you to make a unique author trading card. Because if everyone uses a different picture for their portrait, everyone's card is going to be unique. Put the author's name on the front and draw your portrait. I also have the information for you for the back side of the card. So his birthday was November 30th, 1835. He was born in Florida, Missouri, in the United States. And my fun fact for him is Mark Twain's real name was in fact Samuel Clemens. Mark Twain was not his real name, it was actually his pen name. That's the name that authors will pick if they want to publish anonymously or under a different name. Some authors will choose to do this because they feel like their name isn't as iconic, or they want to have a separation between their writing and their real life interactions with people. So if you were going to be picking a pen name, what would your pen name be? I'd love to hear everyone's answers in the comments. So I'm going to leave this up for you guys so you can copy it down to your author trading card. Okay. So on that author trading card, it also has the best book. And if you haven't read books by Mark Twain, I have a selection of his top 3 books as decided by the internet. So these are books, because the thing is, you can't just put down any old book as the best book on your trading card. You actually have to put down what you think the best book is. So if you haven't read any books by Mark Twain, I would highly recommend that you read these 3 books and then pick your favorite to put down on your author trading card. There's The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. So if you have read these books, tell me in the comments which one you think was the very best. Okay, we're moving on to our second author trading card and learning about Jane Austen's writing routine. She is the author of books like Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. You might have seen a movie made off of her books. There's been many different iterations. She is a beloved author of many different novels. So her writing routine started with getting up early to play the piano before anyone else woke up. She said that was the best way to wake up and get inspired and helped her to be able to focus on her writing later. Then she would make breakfast for her whole family and she would write in the sitting room until dinner time. Then, during dinner, she would read her work in progress out loud to her family. I have to say, I think that that is very brave, and I think that that is a great way to be able to get feedback as she was writing. So this is a really interesting way of being able to get feedback and incorporate it as you're writing your story. So this is a really great tip that we can get. We can see she made time to make sure that she was inspired by playing on the piano before she did her writing, and she read her work in progress out loud to her family to get their feedback. So these are 2 of Jane Austen's writing spaces. This is when she was younger. This was a window right here that would look out into the garden so that she could have that inspiration from nature. And she just had a super simple writing desk. And this later in life, she actually had this mobile desk that she could be able to write wherever she went. Which one of these would you prefer? Would you like something that's super simple and looked out into the garden, or would you like a mobile writing desk like this? Okay, so for Jane Austen's trading card, go ahead and search her up on Google and then draw your very own portrait of the author. Be sure to write her name on the front of the card. So for the back side of the card, her birthday was December 16th, 1775. Her birthplace was Stevenson Rectory in Hampshire, England. And my fun fact for Jane Austen is her books were published anonymously, listed only as by a lady. This was because writing was primarily considered a gentleman's job, and she didn't want that to interfere with her ability to be able to provide for her family, because she actually did. A lot of her books actually helped to provide for her whole family. So she didn't want to have any of the neighbors or anybody like that giving her a side eye while she was out at the market. She wanted to be able to publish anonymously and still be able to share her stories and provide for her family. So she published anonymously. So I highly recommend that you search up Jane Austen facts and add a unique fun fact to your trading card if you want to make it super special. So if you haven't read any books by Jane Austen, I would recommend trying Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility, and Emma. I'd love to know what your guys' favorite Jane Austen book is in the comments. Okay. Once you guys are ready, we can move on to the next author. And if you're just joining us now, I see we have a couple of people who just hopped on. Go ahead and download the free author study worksheets, and then you can catch the replay with Jane Austen and Mark Twain author trading cards. We're learning about their writing routine and interesting facts about the authors. So C.S. Lewis famously wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, and I would have to say every homeschool family that I have met has probably read the Chronicles of Narnia, so you're probably familiar with C.S. Lewis. You might not be familiar with his writing routine. So he started with breakfast at 8 o'clock sharp, and then he would read or write until 1 p.m., and then he would eat lunch. He said that it really depended on if he was feeling inspired to write or if he needed to get inspiration by reading stories. This is very similar to how Jane Austen would play the piano in the morning. He would then take a walk after lunch, and once he came back at around, he would say 3:45, he would go ahead and drink tea. He also would drink tea in the morning if he had a chance to do so. Tea was a very important part of his writing routine. He always liked to have a cup of tea available to him at all times. But he especially made a time out of his day to sit and just drink a cup of tea and have a moment of peace after his walk. He liked to take a very fast-paced walk, and he didn't like a whole lot of talking. So those are some interesting things that we know about C.S. Lewis and his walks, is he preferred to keep it fast-paced and go from one place to the other, and it was more about the exercise and being out in nature, and not so much about taking a slow walk with friends, which his friend Tolkien preferred to take a much slower walk and to actually talk about each of the different plants that were around and talk to the different people. So they did not like to go on walks together. So after he drank his tea, he would write from about 5 p.m. to around 7 p.m. And then he would eat dinner and chat with friends. He said that this was an essential part of any routine, is to actually make time to hang out with your friends and talk about philosophical subjects, talk about the latest things you were writing, so that you could be able to be inspired for your stories. So this was his writing space. As you can see, he also has a desk that looks out into the garden and a big shelves full of books. He really emphasized the importance of having a comfortable space to get inspired and to write. So on his trading card, go ahead and search up C.S. Lewis on Google so that you can draw your very own portrait of the author. Go ahead and put the name down at the front of the card, and then I'll talk about what goes on the back. So his birthday was November 29th, 1898. He was born in Belfast, Ireland. And my fun fact is C.S. Lewis stands for Clive Staples. That was his first and middle name. It's Clive Staples Lewis. I'm going to leave that up there so you guys can copy it. So if you haven't already read the Chronicles of Narnia, I would highly recommend The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is the first book in the series, or A Horse and His Boy, which can be read as a standalone book, or The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. If you haven't already read Voyage of the Dawn Treader, it is my absolute favorite Narnia book, so I highly recommend that you read that one if you've only read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, because I think it is a good contender for best book. So let's talk about E.B. White. He is the author of Charlotte's Web and Stuart Little, amongst other books. So you may not have heard of this author or his books before, but we're going to talk a little bit about his writing routine and some of his books. So his writing routine started with doing a pickup of the whole house. he said that one of the things he struggled with was procrastination. He would always find something to do. And he said that writers should not sit around waiting for inspiration to strike. They should sit down and write, because that's when inspiration will come. He also knew that, hey, I have a hard time with procrastination, so I'm going to take care of all the things I could possibly procrastinate on first, so that I have no excuses. I have to sit down and write. So then he would sit in the living room, which he said was a madhouse all the time. It was the main room where all the doors emptied out into, so everybody was going from room to room, just playing and laughing, and he said that people just didn't even remember that he was a full-time author. But he said that he enjoyed having all of the noise and excitement around him. It did inspire him to write his novels, and when he would get too overwhelmed, he was like, it's fine. I have a place that I can retreat to if things get too loud for me and I cannot focus. So he would retreat to his boathouse, where he would have way less distractions. Super simple. It was a desk, typewriter, chair, waste bin for anything that didn't work. Super simple. And he would wait there and he would write until his wife came to get him for dinner. So people made a big effort to spend a large portion of their day writing. So if you are going to be a serious author and you actually want to write the next great American or British novel, you need to set aside some time every day to write. So that could be before your schoolwork or after your schoolwork. This could be after your chores. You should talk with your parents about if you can set aside a half an hour every day to be able to write and practice your writing. Because it's really important to practice that habit of writing consistently. So this is the boathouse that I was talking about. They actually still have this intact, and this is his desk, super simple bench, and little wastebasket for all of his discarded ideas. So he was very critical of himself. So I would highly recommend, if you're going to be doing your card, go ahead and search up E.B. White on Google and draw a portrait of the author. But don't forget to add Minnie, his loyal dachshund. He, as you can see in his author photo, he posed with his dog in the picture. So it was his beloved dog. So you got to make sure and include it in your author trading card. And you'll want to go ahead and put E.B. White on your card. Okay, let's talk about the backside of the card. So he was born on July 11th, 1899. He was born in Mount Vernon, New York, in the United States. And my fun fact is that he went by the name Andy, which was a nickname that he received from college. EB does not stand for Andy. It was because there was a professor at his college that was known as Andy White. And so everyone who went to that college that had the last name White, they gave him the nickname Andy for some reason. And that nickname stuck for him, but not the other people. So it was a name that he loved, that nickname, and that's the name that he went by after going to college. So if you haven't read any novels by him, I would highly recommend you try Charlotte's Web, Stuart's Little, and The Trumpet of the Swan. All three of these books are classics for a reason and are really fun. I honestly would have a really hard time choosing my favorite because I really enjoyed these books as a kid. So if you haven't read them, I would definitely give them a read. I'll give you a moment to copy those down. Okay, so we have talked all about the famous authors and their writing routines. We've talked about their writing spaces. So it's really important for you to have a dedicated writing space. That can be tricky when you have a house with a bunch of siblings, but I have a few tips for you that is going to help you to be able to design your writing space and make it a lot easier for you to be able to write consistently. So you see, our brains are kind of funny things, and I've talked about this before in other live streams. If we are not inspired and we sit in the same place, we sit at the kitchen table, not inspired to write. After about 5 or 6 times of sitting there and just having no idea what we're going to write, our brains are going to, when we sit at that table, we're going to be like, oh yeah, this is the place where we're not inspired to write. You've gotten in the habit of not being inspired to write by sitting there. By changing up where you are writing and by dedicating a specific spot to being inspired and writing, you are going to be creating a perfect environment for you to get inspired and stay inspired. So this is going to help get your brain in the writing mood. There's so many different writing routines out there by famous authors, so it's important to remember what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for everyone. So you need to create your own custom writing routine that is fun, helps you enjoy writing, and helps you be productive. So let's talk about designing your writing space. The most important part is setting the mood. And I like to call this the 5 senses approach to designing your writing space. You want your surroundings to look inspirational or free from distraction. So you'll notice with Mark Twain and Jane Austen, they wanted their spaces to be totally free from distractions. But C.S. Lewis and E.B. White, they loved having a lot going on around them so that they could be able to be inspired for their stories. Then we have taste, whether this is having a writing snack or a tea before you sit down to write. Make yourself a treat. You can either snack or sip while you write, or use it to motivate yourself every time you accomplish one of your writing goals. I love to have a couple of snacks like chocolate-covered M&Ms, or chocolate-covered raisins and M&Ms, so that I can have just a few of them every time that I hit a writing goal. And it just makes it so much fun to be able to reward yourself. Next one is sound. So pick a place that's quiet or play some inspirational music to get you in the writing mood. If music is too distracting, try listening to some ambient nature sounds or white noise. This is especially helpful if you don't really write very well, if there's a lot going on, but you live with a big family and there's always a lot going on. Having some ambient nature sounds or some white noise kind of blocks it out and makes it so that it feels much quieter and calm for you. The next one is touch. So I like to make sure that I'm comfortable before I write. It's one of the biggest inspiration hacks that I've found. And I have a specific writing jacket that I like to wear that's super comfy. And in the winter, putting on a pair of fuzzy socks is essential to my writing productivity. If you live in a hotter part of the world, turning on a fan or opening a window might increase your comfort and decrease your distractions. And then finally, I like to think about smell. From candles to air fresheners or oil diffusers, there are a lot of different ways to make your writing station smell nice. While many people think this is optional, totally above and beyond, many studies have shown that our strongest memories are associated with smells. So being able to do better on a test because while you were studying, you chewed peppermint bubblegum. And then chewing peppermint bubblegum during your test, you actually recall the answers to the quiz questions better. So having a really nice smell around your writing station that your brain can remember, oh yes, this is the time to get inspired and write a lot. It actually can help. So let's talk about designing your actual writing routine. It's important for you to take notes as we're going through this, or on the replay, go ahead and work on designing your writing routine. The first step of a writing routine is the pre-writing habits. So this can be anything from meditating to taking a walk, like C.S. Lewis, listening to a playlist of songs that inspire you. I know that my brother does this a lot. He has playlists for specific scenes. He has playlists for specific characters and books. So it really helps if you're someone who gets inspired by music to make a playlist for your story and listen to it before you sit down to write. So the next habits that you can think about is taking a nap, reviewing your Pinterest board, or reading your. So Mark Twain sometimes liked to write his stories in bed. If he was not feeling inspired at his desk, he would go sit in bed and actually go ahead and write and draft his story. He said that sometimes you just had to have a totally different environment, somewhere that was really cozy to be able to be inspired. And if you don't outline your stories, I would highly recommend that you consider doing that. I used to be anti-outline too. It's true. I was completely against outlining my stories. I just wanted to write the story and figure out where it was going to go. But if you're going to write consistently, if you're going to write your stories in a timely manner, and you're going to have to avoid rewriting over and over again because you figured out you landed on a plot hole, you should go and write an outline. I'm not talking about something super in depth. I actually created a method for writers to be able to write super simple outlines to make it way easier to be able to actually get to the finish line. You can go and find those in my free resources on StoryQuest Academy. So you can go to my website, storyquestacademy.com, and sign up for the free writer resources, and you'll get access to all of the lessons on the outlines. So let's talk about finding the best time to write. So a lot of people think everyone gets up early, and that's the best time for you to be able to write. Getting up early, that's when you want to write. Well, you'll notice that C.S. Lewis, he got most of his writing done after lunch, after he'd taken a walk, after he'd gotten some inspiration done in the morning. So just because some authors write well in the morning, and some also write well in the evening or the afternoon. So if you are going to find the best time for you to write, try writing at different times of the day. Try this experiment for a week or two and write down how many words that you were able to write. How productive do you feel that the writing session was? Just keep track of this, and then you're going to find your perfect writing time. This is going to help you to write consistently rather than a bunch all at once and then none. That's what we want to avoid. We want to be consistent, like Isaac Asimov, who wrote 1,000 words a day, whether rain or shine. He wrote 1,000 words a day, every single day. And he said that it was either typing practice or start to an amazing story. So you want to have that consistency instead of writing 4,000 words one day and then none for weeks, because that's going to be a lot harder for you to be able to finish your novel. So consider talking to your parents and setting aside some time after you've done your chores, or after, during your lunch break, or after your schoolwork is done for the day. Next tip that I have for you is to set a time limit. Now, setting this time limit might seem counterintuitive, but there is a law that states work expands to fill the time available for its completion. If you give yourself an hour to write, you are going to take an hour to write. You may have been able to write the same amount of words in 30 minutes if you gave yourself a time limit. So before you start writing, set a time limit. This can be anything from 5 minutes to a half hour. One of the important things about this time limit is actually respecting that. So after 30 minutes or an hour or whatever your limit is, you need to actually step away from your computer or notebook. You can always set a longer timer next time if you feel like you can continue on. So if you don't work well with the time limit, you can decide on a particular word count that you want to get done during a writing session. That's another great way of being able to limit yourself so that you can stay the most productive. The best way to be able to be consistent is to stop right before you would get uninspired so that you can continue that excited, inspired streak every single day. If you write until you're no longer inspired, it's going to be a lot harder to pick it up the next day. So it's really important to set a realistic goal every day. So whether that's writing for 30 minutes or writing 100 words a day, you need to set a realistic goal. This is a really good analogy is the story of the hare and the turtle. So the turtle set out with a consistent pace. The hare ran as fast as he could and got really tired quickly. While the hare was resting after his quick sprint, the turtle won the race. This isn't about writing the most words or the fastest. It's about having consistent pace that you can maintain over the long time. They say the moral of that story is that slow and steady wins the race. I think it's actually consistency wins the race. So let's talk about accountability. If you want to be sticking to your writing routine, because even C.S. Lewis said his writing routine was on a normal day, best day. That was his goal every single day, was to stick to that writing routine. He said not every day is a normal day, but being able to have accountability buddies helps you to be able to stick to your writing routine way easier. This is an often overlooked part, and you can either share a post on social media to your different followers with your goal for the day, or find a specific accountability buddy that wants to write during the same time as you. I find an accountability buddy to be a great way to stick to a good writing routine. This can be your sibling or a pen pal. being able to have someone that you can have that accountability with, that you're like really excited to write with and share your story with, helps you to get excited about writing. So let's talk about some general tips for success. Don't judge your first draft. This is an essential tip. Your first draft is not going to be your best draft. And sometimes life is going to get in the way of writing, and there's no way around it. Don't make it worse for yourself by feeling guilty or ashamed of your writing. Writing isn't about making something perfect. It's about getting an idea out there so you can shape it into a wonderful story. The best metaphor that I've heard for writing is every writer is a potter and their words are their clay. It takes time to shape the clay into a pot and fire it in a kiln. You need a first draft so you can shape it into a story and polish it until it is done. So if you guys have any questions on writing routines, please let me know. I want to talk to you guys about the super secret StoryQuest writing sprint method that is going to help you to be able to double the amount of words that you can write in a shorter period of time. This is a proven method that I have worked with many different authors to be able to create. So if you're not familiar with the writing sprint method, I want to go over this information with you because it is really changed a bunch of different writers that I've worked with, totally changed the way that they approach writing. So writing sprints are timed writing exercises to help you write faster. Just like runners cover more ground when sprinting, you build your word count faster with writing sprints. So many writers have to learn to squeeze in writing time into their everyday life, whether that's on their lunch break or in the evening while they're eating dinner. Writing sprints help you to train your writing muse to be ready at a moment's notice and increase your overall words per minute. So what are the rules? You need to turn off all distractions. No phone, no social media, no scrolling or chatting with fellow writers during the writing sprint. You want to start off with a few writing warm-ups, and don't edit as late. You leave that to after the writing sprints, and make sure to write down your word count before you start so you can track how much you added to your story each sprint. You want to set that timer on your phone or your computer, and before you get started, decide what story and scene that you're going to work on before writing. This is going to help save you a ton of time. So the first step is the writing warm-ups. Before you write for a full 30 minutes, you should start with 3 micro warm-up sprints and work your way up. This is the key to doubling your word count. Start with 5 minutes and write as fast as you can without editing. Then write for 10 minutes as fast as you can without editing. Then 15, and finally, do a 30-minute sprint. And if you have more writing to do that day, keep doing 30-minute sprints. If you get interrupted, do the writing warm-ups again. This is going to help you to be able to increase the overall words that you write. If you had just started with a 30-minute sprint, you're not going to be writing as much as if you did your writing warm-ups. Just like you have to stretch before you lift any weights, same thing with your brain. Your brain needs a chance to be able to warm up and get to top speed. So if you are going to be hosting a group writing sprint with your friends or your siblings, set a timer, announce when the sprint ends, and ask for everyone to announce their word count. Then crown the person with the largest word count as the winner of the sprint, and ask everyone to read their favorite sentence. This is a really fun exercise to do with a group of friends or siblings, and really helps to be able to increase the amount of words that you're able to get done during your writing time and your writing routine. So if you guys haven't had a chance to check out the author worksheets, go and click on the button there. I went ahead and went through these in the beginning of the live. There's 11 worksheets there that we are giving away for free. They are just a sample of the StoryQuest reading journal with over 125 pages of awesome worksheets that make reading even more fun than it already is. This is included in the Homeschool Resource Company bundle that is going on sale on July 27th. If you enjoyed this class and the sample from our reading journal, be sure to check out the free preview of the Homeschool Resource Company's upcoming bundle. It has a super secret early bird discount code inside, so I'm going to go ahead and drop a link to that so that everyone can get access to it. So go ahead and check that out. There are 5 products there that are available for you for free that you get to have access to give you guys an idea of the amazing resources that are going to be available in this bundle. go ahead and check that out. I'd love to talk to you guys a little bit more about them. So they're going to be going over the why and how to do a homeschool evaluation. This is from Enrichment Studies. Veteran homeschool mom Erica Johns shares a 30-minute video session teaching you why and how to do an end-of-year evaluation for your homeschool. The video and the PDF are included. You're going to get an elementary book studies pack from Blue Sky Designs by Mrs. T. These products are excellent no prep reading companions. Simply work through the sections of each study as you read through the novels. It also includes a Simply Creative Journey homeschool planner for the 2023 to 2024 year. It has over 100 pages to help you organize and plan your homeschool year. There are calendar pages for 2023 and 2024, as well as undated planning pages. There is a guide to digital student projects. This helps you to create student projects with creative online tools. It is an e-course that you have available that is from the Techie Homeschool Mom. And you have an Identify Your Child's Learning Profile. This is a learning profile, serves to resolve the conflict between curriculum and student abilities. So this is a great way to prep for creating a homeschool IEP or SEP or special education goals. This is from the ELARP Learning. So go ahead and get those free resources. Super amazing, available to you for free. And there is a super secret early bird coupon available in that free bundle. So for the upcoming Homeschool Quest, the Homeschool Resource Co. bundle. So go and check that out. I would love to see you guys in our next live class. Go ahead and I will drop a link so you guys can RSVP to that. And if you enjoyed this class, please go ahead and share it with your friends. We are consistently gaining new members, and we appreciate it when you share our group with your friends as well. We want to be able to provide as much resources and great things for homeschooling families as possible, and by sharing the group, you make that a lot easier for us to be able to share free and affordable resources to homeschooling families. Thank you so much for joining me live, and I look forward to seeing you on the next live video.